And what was the reaction of people at the time to Minister Tabucci's welfare diet?
The reaction, well, it depended on what part of the spectrum that you were on. Of course, there was going to be some people who were convinced by that it was that in fact one could get on that, get along on that diet. But most there was various different reactions from doctors and nutritionists looked at the diet and said, well, this is not a diet that someone can survive on. They might be able to survive on a couple of weeks or whatever, or maybe as much as a month, but you wouldn't be able to survive on it. It had no salt or sugar, no condiments, and that sort of thing. And nutritionally, people who understand these things, dietitians and other nutritionists, and that said that it was not a nutritious diet. It's not a sustainable diet in the medium to longer term. I guess what advocates were thinking was that uh, they had just come out of the years of the NDP government where some social assistance increases. And in fact, the governments before that of David Peterson and Bill Davis had, generally speaking, raised social assistance along with inflation, especially back in the 80s when we had very high inflation. And they'd actually kept up, so to speak, during those years. So this was a time when when we were seeing there was a lot of conjecture that people were having a good life on what we would call welfare at the time, and actually that turned out not to be the case. Nutritionally, the diet couldn't sustain people, and there was a feeling that we'd gone through this long period where we were raising social assistance rates, and now was this heralding a new era where rates would only be cut, and what was the public reaction to this? There's a lot of confusion and a lot of anger, a lot of upset, and this was just one of the let's just say the pressure points. This welfare diet became something that actually made the national news at the time. It was, and it's still available on a YouTube that you can watch with Peter Mansbridge.
Right. And besides being nutritionally void, it was also not foods people would actually want to eat. Like there was pasta noodles, but no sauce.
Yeah, I mean, one of the more curious things about the diet is that there was what we would normally say as condiments or things that go together like pasta and sauce and maybe some grated cheese or something like that. Those items were not part of it, with just the base items. So there was no salt, there was no sugar, there was no spreads of any kind like mayonnaise or butter or even margarine. It just weren't part of it. It was sort of like the base elements of what we would think of a diet that we'd be working up from scratch, but it didn't have any of those other types of things as part of it.